Yeah, definitely Kramer. 7 games on the Ezreal so far. He's got 4 games outside of that on different champions. So we'll see. Definitely a priority for them, but JackeyLove's known to be aggressive. And Ezreal's one of those champions that can be exposed in the laning phase if you're not careful, as I punch my microphone. We're going into Champ Select here. Top Esports going to be on our blue side, LGD on the red. LeBlanc being banned away. Also, the Viego banned away. Mid lane focus here coming out from Top Esports, trying to remove Xie from the equation.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see, actually, yeah, there we go, the Set banned away as well. So mid lane focus, but Set is Top Esports' most banned champion. They just do not like playing against it. And on the opposite side, we're actually seeing a lot of the champions we see banned against Top Esports. Something like this Karma has been banned away against them quite a bit. Same when you look towards the Lee Sin is oftentimes banned away as well, just because you know the flexibility that's there, right? Knight's going to be able to play it. Karsa, one of the better Lee Sins, if not like top 2 Lee Sins that we have in the LPL as well. So just not letting them have that flexibility there when it comes to the draft.
One of the big questions coming into this draft, though, is going to be how do Top Esports prioritize things in this draft? Because in the last series, we saw them. Okay, well, that's already answered my question. I was going to say, is Knight going to be able to carry? We saw him on the Silas. We also saw him play the Lulu, and that really didn't work out for the team. Instant first pick of Akali makes me think maybe Knight's going to be able to carry.
Yeah, I think that is going to go towards Knight. He's played it the last time. Here, though, okay. I actually thought we were going to see Fearness go towards the Renekton. Jing Tian has played a lot of Renekton and oftentimes ends up slipping through the draft phase. So I feel like here, you end up being able to select the Renekton for yourselves. Whereas when we look at LGD, they actually have that strong pairing. We've been talking about a little bit. The Lulu and Xinjiao work very, very well together, being able to enable him. But you can also pick up something like the Kog'Maw, right? And now you've got 2 carries, essentially, that you can play around with this Lulu. Even being able to flex the Lulu towards the mid lane for Xie if you really want to. And actually, honestly, feels like more of a Xie champion than it does a Mark champion.
Yeah, and now Gwen going to be locked in to go up against the Renekton on that top side for Fearness. Does mean Kog'Maw still open, could be banned away by Top Esports here. But remember, as you're rightly saying, Dagda, the Lulu's a flex. So even if you do ban away the Kog'Maw, the Lulu could still just go into the mid lane, and LGD can still get themselves the Ezreal. Remember, Ezreal is open. It's by far Kramer's most played of the split. It's one of his most played of all time anyway. The virus being banned away by LGD here. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Kog'Maw and Ezreal as the 2 bans from Top Esports.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's the Kog'Maw already gone. The Ezreal, it's kind of a bit weird because obviously the Ezreal is great for Kramer, but doesn't sync very well with the Lulu. So it could end up maybe going towards something else. But yeah, there you go. Varus, Kalista already off the board. With the Thresh taken off the board, it's not like we're going to see Jinx or the Aphelios either, well, usually. So at least from the AD carry position, you're kind of looking back down towards like the Kai'Sa. Maybe we get something like a Senna coming through from Top Esports as well, which I think could be really good.
So what you could do if you're Top Esports, don't ban the Ezreal, because obviously with the Kalista ban, they're saying, hey, we want to play Ezreal. Allow the Ezreal pick to go through, instant lock-in like Leona Draven. We all know JackeyLove loves to play Draven. You've got an aggressive composition already. Draven bodies Ezreal in the laning phase. I would love to see something like that.
I think if we end up seeing it, okay, so they're going to take the... All right, so this call from LGD is actually very smart. You take the Tahm Kench to prevent the Senna Tahm Kench on the opposite side, and then you can still go towards the Ezreal here in your final pick, or if you end up seeing Top Esports take the Ezreal here, you have the Senna Tahm Kench. So smart play coming through from LGD just in the draft to make sure that they kind of come out on top regardless of what way you're going to look. And it looks like Top Esports are just going to take the Ezreal, maybe take something like the Nautilus coming through for Zhou, give him that aggressive engage that he really likes, and then you get the Senna coming through for LGD here.
Yeah, and a couple of important notes here. This is patch 11.12, so Hex Splash is available, but also this is pre-reworked Tahm Kench. So this is the Tahm Kench that you're used to seeing in competitive play, not the version with the knock-on. Just to make sure everyone's clear on that one. Looks like a hard engaged support is going to be the answer here in the bottom side for Top Esports.
Yeah, I mean, the Rakan works very well here. You can set up, obviously, working off of your double bruisers. You get that setup as well to work alongside the equalizer. So mid-game teamfight from Top Esports, that one item, kind of nutty. Like, pretty much across the board. I'm petrified going up against them at any of these skirmishes, but that's the Top Esports way, right? They like to go for these champions that can work well at the early skirmish. On the opposite side, though, Kramer bamboozles me, doesn't go for the Senna. actually going to go for the Jinx instead, so something that can again pair really well with this Lulu. And now you've got this situation where for Xie, Shadow, strong mid jungle 2v2 by enabling this Xin Zhao, and then when you get towards the later point of the game, the Lulu transfers all of that ability in towards the Jinx to be that late game carry.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at Kramer's match histories across the board, like Senna is not one of his most played, it's not one of his favorite champions, or his Jinx is pretty high up the list there. And it feels like it fits the style of, when you look at his most played, it's things like Ashe, things like the Varus, these utility AD carries that want to scale up, want to get a bunch of items, and then carry the late game team fights. And Ezreal, obviously, is #1 champion. So we will see the Jinx coming on through alongside the Tahm Kench here. And we'll see if LGD have what it takes to go up against top esports. But Dagda, I want to bring the conversation back around to the mid lane and the jungler. We were talking about how this could be down to the mid jungle 2v2. Which side are you leaning towards after this draft?
I think it's hard because I think when you look towards the Xin Zhao Lulu, it's an incredibly strong pick. So the way this works, right, is you obviously get the Whimsy that one speeds up your movement speed, so it's easier for Xin Zhao to get in and have that aggressive, audacious charge. But also the attack speed boost means that you're getting that third auto off faster from the Talon Strike, which flings people up in the air and means you've got a hell of a lot of strength in those early skirmishes. But on the opposite side, I think you've still got a lot of power that can come through. So I think it's going to come down to a little bit more interaction coming through from the likes of Zhou, who has the opportunity to roam and try and turn these 2v2 plays into a 3v2, because you don't really get the Tahm Kench the opportunity to leave that bottom lane because he needs to stick around with the Jinx that little bit longer.
Yeah, Jinx definitely one of these champions that takes a while to get herself into the game. And Ezreal can certainly be left on his own to farm things up. We're into the League of Conqueror once again. 5 Conquerors across the board in terms of our runes. But enough about runes. We're getting onto Summoner's Rift for what could be an exceptionally fast-paced game when you look across the top esports composition. But just look at that. Isn't that beautiful, Dagda? We're in LGD's arena, and you can tell as we head on Summoner's Rift. But Knight on this Akali, we're in a meta where you can really shine. Feels like certainly in the 1v1 against the Lulu, once you get a few levels, you expect Knight to be able to put pretty much unlimited pressure.
And I think they're going to have a lot of pressure in this early to mid game. Like top esports composition, we already said, hey, look, mid game, early game, that's all them, buddy. Like, they have so much strength out of these champions, it's kind of insane. Whereas when you look across at LGD, right, you've got Kramer, needs time to scale. Fearness needs time to scale as well. LGD are banking on the late game, but I'm going to pull up a stat that I found relative to top esports. They've won every game that they are ahead at 15 minutes. They have lost every game they are behind at 15 minutes. So a composition like this for top esports, where they're able to find these early skirmishes and power through that early strength, going for these dives, looking for Knight on the roam, feels like this is now going to be the home turf for top esports.
So what you're telling me is top esports are the 2021 version of V5. Got it. I'll log that away somewhere in my head, because that was always the big thing about V5 was early game win, they get the win. Early game loss, they get the loss for themselves. But as you just saw on your screen, 56 kills away are top esports from getting 5,000 kills in the LPL. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that number. Probably won't get it in the first game of this series, but it's possible. Oh wait, Shadow! Oh no! Perfect timing! And now Cars is in trouble. Knight moving over here, but he's a level 3 Akali. There's not much he can do. DA moves in, will be able to get the slow down flash out from Karsa. He'll barely get out with his life.
Yeah, and this is actually really good from Xie and Shadow. Like, we were kind of talking about, look, the strength of this mid-jungle 2v2 is great. And unfortunately for Karsa Knight, the 2v2 for them isn't strong, and without Zhou, as we kind of talked about. So now, Shadow moving in, he gets top side. He's already cleared at his bottom side. So he gets 3 quadrants and will be fine. As long as Kramer and Mark, they just back away here and make sure Karsa isn't able to get anything.
Smart play coming out from the bot lane of LGD. I thought they were going to get caught out there, but really nice from Kramer and Mark. They dropped the ward in the river just in time to spot Karsa trying to make the play. So Karsa loses out on his quadrant. You can see Shadow still has a full quadrant to go for, so he'll have a massive CS advantage in that jungle. Karsa is left to wonder what went wrong, and all off the back of a blast code.
So the big thing to remember about jungle camps though, right, is that yes, it's really nice to get the first one, but you are to get the initial steal, but you are cycling the camps into a level 2, into a level 3. So what we need to see from Shadow is for him to continue on this path, continue stealing away these camps. Otherwise, it's actually not too bad. And when you end up picking up these camps because you're at a deficit, the comeback mechanic ends up working out actually pretty nicely for you. So I want to see now if Shadow is able to continue this pressure, and it's a very different style to what we usually expect from Shadow. If you actually remember back in the LEC, he wasn't able to double down on this style, especially against junglers like Inspired when they were in the finals against Rogue. So I now want to see if Shadow has actually grown and moved away from being more this gank heavy jungler and actually able to path correctly and intelligently to outpace Karsa here.
Yeah, we've seen that he can be a gank-heavy jungler. Let's find out if he can be an efficient jungler as well. And it certainly feels like with this Lulu in the mid lane, when you're playing a Jin Zhao, you should be in a good position to be able to take control of that jungle matchup. Jingtian looking for a bit of damage at the top side. I thought it was going to go a little bit more aggressive, but it does feel like this Gwen is somewhat of an answer to the Renekton just because you can Shroud as soon as he tries to go in for the W and dodge a lot of his all-in.
Yeah, the Renekton's completely fine here, especially because the level 1, you're able to match a decent amount against Fearness here. You can also heal up, so it doesn't worry yourself too much. And level 3, you go nutty onto the Gwen. It's all the stuns, the CC. It's really difficult for Gwen to deal with, alongside her trading not really working out as Knight now, and a lot of...
That was a little too close for comfort there for Knight. He'll be okay, though. Xie is level 6. Kramer takes a good chunk of damage in the bottom side. Yeah, top lane, you can see a dive is about to happen. Yeah, Karsa's going for a dive. Observers, please let me look. Oh, no. They got the kill. I don't know what happened, but they got the kill, Doctor.
Yeah, I think there was just a heavy trade coming through from Jingtian. Actually went super aggressive right as that wave was about to crash, and Karsa just walks up and gets the kill. So again, like, remember what we're talking about, right? We wanted to see if Shadow could continue to punish. Well, that kill going over now equals up the gold that would have happened from that early plates going across. We didn't get to see Shadow re-invading onto that top side, trying to put Karsa further behind. So in the grand scheme of things, you can see the gold lead actually in favor of Karsa. The experience lead, not going to be that different, but we get a replay of it here. I was looking at Fearness. He takes one really bad trade here to start things off, already at about half health, and then you get the follow-up here where he tries to trade back. You've already got Karsa here, level 6 hit by Jingtian as well, and LGD's top laner is done for.
Oh, we got more fighting. Karsa, he's in the wrong portion of the map right here. There is a blast code. Maybe he can execute, I guess, is the best case scenario at this point. I don't know how recently he got hit. He's going to dodge a couple of shots. He's going to buy a bit of time, move all the way to the Nexus Towers.
Wait,
there's someone coming.
Are they going to give it to
Mark
Kramer?
might be able to die. The flash from Mark to get himself the solo kill. Mark just solo killed Karsa, everyone. That's one for the history book.
That counts. It counts. Put it down. That's a stat. All the stats needed was just the solo kill. But again, like, honestly, nice job from Karsa, right? Still manages to get away. Didn't have the flash for that scenario either, so ends up giving over the kill to the Tan Kench, which, grand scheme of things, doesn't mean anything. I actually thought we might see Kramer be like the one that jumped out, tried to hit him with the not the deadly first, the zap, to see if he could pick up the kill, but not going to be able to, as we get the replay on the bottom of your screen. But now Shadow, level 6, he actually has now got a pretty big advantage over himself because Karsa was sent packing once again, and Karsa punished for trying to invade onto that top side.
And so far, Dagda, we've been able to catch basically none of the action in this game. We've joined in light on every fight. But Fearness is in trouble again, and oh my days. Jingtian, this is why this guy was brought into the team. This is why he's on the squad over 369 right now. He is able to have these standout performances. This is what he looked like in the LDL, dominating his lane.
Yeah, for me, Jingtian is like different in a lot of regards to 369. I think for like lane prowess, I think 369 is definitely better. But I think the big difference maker is how good Jingtian is in those team fights. Like, Jingtian is very good at finding those opportunities where if he's on Renekton, the flash in stun onto some key carries, or getting himself in a position on the set to set things up.
We've got a different conversation to be had right now as Jackie Love is exhausted, stuck under the tower. 4-man dive could come through. I don't think they can clear the wave. Jackie Love has True Shot Barrage available. It looks like they're just going to back away from this one. They're going to lose a
Knight's on
lot
the
of
way.
CS for it. Yeah, Knight
Knight
hanging
and
around in
Karsa
the
are starting to
jungle.
hover.
He's not really committing to coming back, and it looks like the back away comes out from LGD. They want to go for the Drake themselves. And top esports are more than happy to handshake this as Karsa moves up to the top side of the skull crown.
And again, I'm pretty impressed with the way LGD have been playing with this, like getting these at least these early advantages. But again, we're seeing that look, it's not actually amounting to a gold lead thanks to Qingtian.
Oh, Fairness will back away. He's fine. Karsa just taxes the wave with his flame spear. He's like, well, I've wasted my time here, so I'm gonna get a little bit of a reward for myself. Qingtian continues to control this lane, gets rid of any vision as well, so Karsa could maybe look for another opportunity in a bit.
Yeah, but look at the gold, right? That's on your screens. You can see that we've got the advantage going up towards Qingtian, towards Karsa gold as well. So even though LGD are doing a reasonably good job of, keeping track of advantages,
oh, hang on, Knight's going for an all-in here. Does have the shuriken available. Perfect execution already used, and will go for the second one under the tower, and jumps back to his shuriken that he put inside the smoke. So just trying to min-max the amount of damage he's able to get in the 1v1.
Yeah, and as well, because Xie doesn't have that TP now, actually gets the advantage here in the mid lane, so can shove in this wave and create another little bit of a gold lead there for top esports. So for LGD, as we said, like they're the ones that need to scale. They're the ones that need time to get into this game, and they have been doing a reasonably good job of things like dragons, shutting down these plays that top esports can have that can actually net them, the opportunity for new skirmishes, push LGD onto a timer that they need to answer for. But for top esports now, I want to see them going towards these rift routes. I want to see them accelerating this game. Otherwise, they'll end up in a position where this game pace just slows right the way down. Kramer, Xie able to wave clear all day long, and you're not actually in a position that you can force LGD to fight before you get to these big objectives.
Yeah, and I want to just take a second and visualize the late game for LGD here, because when you think about it, with the Lulu there, with a Jinx, with multiple items, able to just fire away at the back of the team fight, the Tahm Kench to peel, the wild growth can come up. Feels like Kramer in the late game will be set up for success. We'll be able to just have infinite freedom in these fights. But it's for top esports, it's about not allowing LGD ever to get to that point in the game. Control ward taken away in the mid lane here. As Drake's not up for another 3 minutes, it feels like LGD are posturing to try and make a play around Drake, but it's not there.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Qingtian there. It just walks under tower, full combos Fierceness, and just walks back out. The most Chad move I've seen in a while. He just does Chad Tien in the top lane right now. Whatever about Qingtian. But yeah, I think overall, as I said, there's a lot of posturing, but this is kind of where I think LGD in a lot of respects are trying to see if they can hover to protect bot side, keep Kramer with the ability to push in, because although Jackie Love is staying relatively even on CS, you can chip away as Kramer onto these towers, and that's why when you look at the screen, top esports, they're trying to trade in the opposite side of the map. They want Qingtian to get ahead, get this pressure down, and try and accelerate the pace of this game like we were talking about.
Well, Kramer's going to be able to chip away at the tower on the bot side, whereas top esports are going to hit it with a sledgehammer in the form of a Rift Herald. Be able to take themselves the first tower of the game. That is going to be a massive influx of gold. You can see that 2,000 ahead now. They get the bonus charge as well. And I can't quite see on the minimap how many plates have been taken on the bottom side in favor of Kramer, but you'd expect it to be maybe 1 or 2 at this stage against an Ezreal when there has been pressure towards that bottom lane. Yep, looks like 2 plates in favor of Kramer right now. And in fact, he's already finished his Gale Force, but Jackie Love is going to be answering in kind with a Divine Sunder of his own.
Yeah, I was curious to see what the item styles were going to be come through from Kramer, because the item image, yeah, it's like, this is now a word.
I like that. It's a good word.
Look, we're learning about Latin origins earlier on between octopus and cacti, so I've gone back towards item image here for Kramer. But certainly, looking at the Kraken Slayer, it's great, yes, you get a hell of a lot more damage, but I actually like the Gale Force just because the amount of threat you're going to be under from Zhuo, trying to see if you can find these quickness engages. Also, the Equalizer coming in from Karsa. Having that extra mobility is going to be pretty crucial in these fights. And when you've already got Xie, who's going to be able to give a little bit more safety and add that attack speed, your attack damage is already going to be sky high, so a little bit of safety will go a long way.
And just on the note of learning things, we actually learned on Twitter, we got told on Twitter that the reason the plurals become eyes is when they are from a Latin base. And the reason octopi is octopuses these days is it's actually the English version. So my question then So what happened to cacti? Because that's an English word. Why wasn't that adapted to an English version and become cactuses? It doesn't make any sense like that. Why does English never make any sense? Do you know what else doesn't make sense? Is the fact... Well, actually, no, it does make sense. Dragon's coming up. I was trying to figure out a way to transition there. 10 seconds until an Ocean Drake is onto the map.
Sure.
Whoa.
No.
Oh, it's a bit of a blunder, isn't it? It's a bit of a blunder right before a crucial dragon fight. But I think he's going to be okay because Shadow is in base right now, so I'm pretty sure there's no way for LGD to even contest this one.
No, and they don't want to, right? We already talked about the one-item spikes pretty much across the board for top esports. Well, they've hit them. The only person who doesn't have one right now is Karsa and also Zhou. But if you try to fight right now, LGD just get wiped. So I think nice call from LGD. Just go, no, we're fine. We're going to keep scaling. We're going to keep farming. As long as we keep these turrets, we're going to be in okay shape. And unfortunately for them, Top Esports managed to sneak away that dragon just before the Rift Herald spawn. So now for Shadow, he's not really going to be able to contest this. You can see at least a couple of members of LGD starting to teeter over that way. Maybe even Kramer considering moving up here, using the ultimate from Mark to close the gap and potentially force Top Esports back, but I'd be worried about LGD trying to contest.
Yeah, I mean, LGD could, I guess, toy with the idea, but yeah, heading back to base. Castle, sorry, is already onto the Herald. Feel like they're just not going to go for this one. We got a Croc hiding in the swamp, in the bushes. He's going to move in and just go for the red buff. He's like, you know what, Shadow? I'll take you on. I'll challenge you. Bring it on, sir. Yeah, we'll take that a win. That's a win right there. As Castle's going to be able to get himself the Rift Herald. And Qingtian didn't actually ever want the red buff. He wanted a pick if he could get it. But ultimately, he's just trying to make sure that Shadow cannot contest the objective. And Joel, on the other side of the map, realizes he's completely alone. Shige is here to answer. He's got to get out.
Yeah, and you can see LGD have already swapped around their mid and bottom, though. Kramer basically just going to hang on in this mid lane. He's like, look, if they come down with that Rift Herald, they've got the double TPs on Top Esports. There's a lot of pressure that can come in on this bottom side. So instead, it'll be Shie who's on bot lane duty, and Knight wants this.
Yeah, perfect execution in, but he's knocked up, by the wild growth. We'll be able to get away. This is just the nature of playing against the Lulu, right? Knight has to go in, has to try and get the pressure down, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's ever quite expecting to get a kill for himself. Especially when Lulu can just turn you into a little squid. There's not much you can do about it.
The big thing, though, is about opening up the opportunity for a dive, right? Perfect execution will not quite be up, but if you're looking to see if you can force back Shie, not having access to that ultimate is actually pretty key, and especially when you've got the Rift Herald available, Kars is looking for any sort of play that he can crack open those turrets with, and Jackie Love now, sitting in the mid lane, Shadow just trying to help Kramer and Mark here shut out this wave, and make sure they're not the position where the Rift Herald's being used.
So I have just come to a quite important realization when it comes to how the team fights are going to pan out in this game. And that's that if Shie can get multiple whimsies off in these fights with the pool party skin that he's running, he can actually create Octopi for himself just to have full conclusion on that nonsense that we've been spouting all day so far.
The full circle. The full circle.
Yeah, the full squid, if you will. The full tentacle.
I didn't realize you'd read ahead in the script to know that this was going to happen.
Look, it's who I am. I make the scripts when it comes to the LPL. Hang on, we got to fight. Equalizer comes down. Cost is in trouble, but he'll get out with his life. And Shia pushed away as his Shadow separated from the squad. Herald doesn't look like it'll get a charge off. Oh, just killed at the last possible second there. Looks like everything diffuses in the end.
That's a big win for LGD, though. Remember we said they wanted to... Oh, hang on. Shadow, back it up. Just take it easy, because you got the victory, right? You want to scale. You want to wait until you've got the time for Fearness and for Kramer to actually have control of their items. Whereas when you look over at Top Esports, now they're kind of going, all right, well, we have to now force these plays on towards like mid towers or on towards the bottom lane where we shove in with Qingtian and have him move. And that becomes a hell of a lot riskier, especially since LGD, you can see, are keeping relatively good control in the vision on this bottom side and should be able to spot out anything that's on bottom, so they just try and keep themselves safe on that top side now as well. And again, that play becomes so difficult for Top Esports to make.
And you know, I'm trying to think about how these fights are going to operate later on in the game, and the more you think about it, the more it looks terrifying for top esports, and you realize that they're gonna have to find LGD in rotation and catch them out in some way, because like, what can Knight do functionally as an assassin on this Akali? Like, he wants to dance around the fights, threaten the backline, blah blah blah, but there's a Lulu and a Tom Kench. Like, how do you ever realistically get a kill onto someone without the enemy severely misplaying the situation? Like, even a Xin Zhao that can actually be appealing tool with that ultimate.
Yeah, they need to try and lock into some sort of 1-3-1 early, and that's why like it's so important that these towers are still standing for LGD, because think about it right now, right? If that mid lane turret's down, you shove in as top esports, top, mid, you can then rotate down towards this bottom side, look for the dive, and then you can always have Knight again, like threaten Xie under these towers, as we've already seen. Jingtian as well has been pretty far accelerated past Fairness, so he's got a bunch of control on that top side, and you end up with Karsa kind of playing side lanes with his equalizer, adding to that damage, and it becomes really hard for LGD to set up where Xie is protecting Kramer. Mark is in those positions to protect Shadow as well. So now they're actually able to keep themselves safe as TP on towards Mark.
Yeah, Jingtian here. Knight threatening in the bottom side. The TP is going to secure this Drake by the looks of things. Feels like it's very difficult for LGD to properly contest this one. Shadow TP, moving in. TP actually being channeled, though. LGD look like they want this fight. Drake down to 3,000. Shadow is on the scene. Karsa is here, and he's pretty damn good at smiting. There's an equalizer onto Kramer, who's low and forced away. Dragon taken down. Knight has a ticket into the play, and he's splashed in. Beautifully done there by Knight. Patiently plays it, and now he'll be rewarded with a couple of bonus kills. Wild Growth comes through, though. And this Gwen is invincible on the front line. Jingtian tearing apart the back line. In the meantime, Kramer went down. Jingtian more than happy to tank this tower. And Mark, you may be Tom Kench, you may be the king of the river, but you ain't in the river no more. Zonya's actually... Wait, she actually managed to TP out of the play. TP's back to his own base just to survive. But it doesn't matter. It's still 4 kills for top esports and a Drake on top of everything.
I am beyond confused as to why LGD tried to go towards that. Like, we've already said, hey, look, you need items, you need time, and you can see, right? Equalizer across the entire team. Great equalizer from Karsa. Shadow, he's now stuck on the far side, but when he flashes, he just brings Knight with him. So now Knight is in a great spot to start finishing these off, and again, this is the difference with Jingtian. Watch the flash forward on towards Kramer. Just picks him off over the edge with that Ruthless Predator. The increased range you get off that W is really key to being able to finish that off. And then he just tanks up the tower. So again, like, LGD, this is a second dragon. It is a cloud dragon. You do not need to all in on this. And now you bust this game wide open for top esports. 5,000 gold lead for them. And a lot of that going on towards key carries that now you've really got to look out for as they operate in this 1-3-1 style.
And I just want to point something out in that replay that happened that is a little controversial in that Knight at the end of that play tries to get a shuriken onto Xie. Now, his shuriken was blocked by a minion, but I have to wonder what the game plan was there. Because even if you hit the shuriken on the TP, do you really want to go all the way into the base of LGD? I'm not sure that's the play.
Always yes. Forever yes. There is no way that is not yes. You just go and you just see what happens, right? I mean, there's only one way to find out. This is either the biggest brain or the worst play, and we won't know. It's Schrodinger's play.
Schrodinger's shuriken. It's got a nice little ring to it.
It's got a nice ring to it, yeah.
I guess Schrodinger was part ninja or something. I don't think you can be part ninja. I think it's kind of binary. You either are or you are not.
It's a lifestyle, you know.
Schrodinger's ninja, if you will. That's not how that works, but whatever. We'll move on because we've got a bit of a fight going on. It's Mark and Kramer trying to get some damage down, but all they're doing is tanking damage right now. But Kramer gets a couple of shots onto Jackie Love, forces him away from the play. And I just want to quickly shout out Jackie Love wearing the Striker Ezreal skin. The Euros are going on right now. I see what you're doing there, Jackie Love. Bit of a footy fan.
I don't know, football is pretty big in China, so he definitely could be. But yeah, I mean, look, again though, looking at the actual map state, top esports, right? Yeah, you get a couple of shots coming over from Kramer, but now you got Knight who shoved in top lane. Shadow has to answer, so now you get a numbers advantage here in the mid lane, which top esports instantly try to go ahead with. And this is why we're talking about, like, top esports are really, really good when they are ahead. They know how to play the map. They know that how to, like, outplay you in fights, and that mechanical skill only gets added to with the gold lead.
Bit surprised to see the equalizer just dropped so willingly there by Karsa. No follow-up whatsoever. No way to lock anyone onto it as Jackie lives up to his reputation, going a little bit aggressive at the end of the fight, nearly get caught for it, but he gets away with it, as he often does. A couple of items
Carson doesn't mind throwing out the equalizer because it's basically the same cooldown as his Q. So, I mean, it's going to be up pretty much momentarily. Doesn't really matter. Minute until that dragon as well. So I think, again, like for top esports, fantastic. They find another opportunity to maybe see if LGD want to fight. And this is what I was talking about, right? So imagine LGD didn't fight for the last dragon. They are actually looking to fight for this one. Well, you've got a rapid fire now completed on towards Kramer. He's actually able to poke from pretty far away and not have to worry too much about being in a dangerous spot for a lot of this. You look at the redemption that's been completed on towards Xie as well, a lot more safety for the backline, pretty much like taking Knight out of the equation. But because they fought ahead of this, well, you're not really in a position now to go towards this because you've got like Divine Thunder and Muramana already completed for Jackie Love. He's crazy strong. Zonya's completed for Knight. It means he'll be able to buy a lot of time in this backline and be a real nuisance. Karsa also going to have that Oblivion Orb, nearly the Morello completed, which means Fearness now is a lot less effective with the healing he can have. Shadow as well, Xie being able to throw around the wall growth. It all just becomes that little bit harder because of that gold influx that has been given to top esports from that prior fight.
And you have to say, it's actually kind of difficult to be a lot less effective than 1 and 3 so far in the game. But he's going to manage now that there's some healing reduction coming on through. I'm being a little bit mean to Fearness there, to be fair, but now we're getting towards another Drake Dagger. This would be the third one for top esports if they're able to get it. And Jackie Love, he's starting to do some damage, isn't he? He's got a fair amount of mana on top of having the Muramana to turn that mana into AD. And Jackie Love, he's well aware of the situation. Shuriken goes out onto Shadow as Karsa is just going to be soloing the Drake. He's got pressure in both the mid lane and the bot lane, has those laners pushing forward aggressively. And that's going to set him up to be able to just take this Drake. And now LGD, they're on a timer. You can't really afford to give up a soul. Even if it's a Cloud Soul, it's still a really tough objective to lose.
Now, the good news for them is they did get that first dragon, right? So rather than that fourth dragon being right now, they still have another 5 minutes. i.e. nearly finished for Kramer. That's where he really starts to come online. When you look towards Shadow as well, Sterix will be completed as Kramer
will be okay. He'll be all right on this one. He does have a Lulu and a Tom Kench with him, so I feel like he has to really, really mess up to manage to die in these kind of situations.
Yeah, I think if you end up getting assassinated here as Kramer, something's gone wrong. And it feels like sometimes Kramer can go slightly wonky, but at least this time he's got double saves rather than nobody to really help him out. But
it's like he can go wonky in the way that a toddler that's learning to ride a bike can go wonky, right? But you've got the left stabilizer on one wheel that's marking the Tom Kench, and you've got the right stabilizer on the other side of the wheel, and that's going to be Xie in the mid lane on the Lulu. So with the stabilizers on his bike, one day he'll learn to pedal.
Well, you got to learn to carry someday, and they say once you learn how to carry, you never forget. But
that's true.
I don't know. That kind of doesn't seem to be the case sometimes here with LGD. Kramer, though, still in this mid lane and actually taking a heap of damage.
And that's a perfect example of how slippery Kramer becomes in this composition, because all of that lands onto him. And he just gets gobbled up by Mark and gets out into safety. But the tower is taken, and that's the important thing here for top esports. Baron is on the cards as well. Remember, this is top esports. They're more than happy to just burn through a Baron. The composition they have, not the highest damage when it comes to just burning through that. Akali certainly doesn't add much to the picture there, but still, it is top esports. You've got Jackie Love on 3 items. They're more than happy to go for that kind of play.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see here as well that Jackie Love has I was able to opt in towards the Frozen Heart. Hell, a lot of AD damage, obviously, from Kramer and from Shadow, but the fact that you don't actually have any tank stats realistically being picked up on LGD right now means he's totally fine to go for that little bit more defensive, doesn't have to go for the Surrealist Grudge, can now opt into that. Honestly, potentially even go for a Ravenous Hydra with how close a lot of these members like Fearness and Shadow are going to be standing on LGD's side, but I think definitely the Surrealist Grudge now at this stage going to be doing quite a lot of work, and just those slows it brings as well is going to make things a bit more of a nuisance for someone like Fearness, who is opting in towards the Morello Nomicon here rather than something like the Cosmic Drive. So those movement speed stats really going to be affected, and his ability to keep up in fights is going to be hindered.
Yeah, we'll see if the slows are going to be a huge impact. I want to mention Knight's items as well. He's on 3 now. He's at that point in the game where Akali becomes really difficult to deal with, because The Demonic Embrace plus the Zhonya's give you a lot of tankiness. He's got some Omnivamp in there as well, so it feels like Knight is going to be able to survive a long time in these fights. He's going to be very difficult to shut down. I've just spotted a stat on the screen, which I'm not sure if it's on the English stream, so I'll just say it out loud in case. So far, JackeyLove represents 40% of the team's damage in this game. He is just blasting out those Qs, and I have to say, love him or hate him, and he very much is a Marmite player, JackeyLove knows how to do damage. That is one thing you just can't argue with.
Yeah, it's just he also knows how to take damage. Like, that's kind of the problem. So, like, it can really work out. Yeah, exactly. And look, to be fair, there's been an awful lot of times that we've seen JackeyLove make the play that wins it. Like the 2018 World Championship, a lot of his plays won them the world title. So you can't really argue with the guy sometimes, but there are other times where you're like, no, even from my mere pedestal down in the depths of Elo Hell, I can tell you that probably wasn't the play.
Look, I've watched a lot of League of Legends, even if I'm not that good at it myself. I can tell you when an AD carries sprinting it a little bit. Speaking of which, JackeyLove has got a bit deep on this one. He'll get out, costs him both of his summoners though. Shadow's happy to trade that for his own flash.
And you can see the difference in confidence right from LGD now. You've got that IE completed for Kramer. He's going to be enabled so well by Xie as well. I'd love to see a Staff of Flowing Waters here as Kramer does take an equalizer to the face. Azure, no quickness available.
TP. Double TP. They're going full TT here as they go for the flank on the backside. Shadow keeps them away from this one. Jingtian and Knight realize that, unfortunately, the play isn't going to work out. Knight just has to settle for a blue buff instead. Jingtian gets his reward of a Scuttle Crab. Ping's going towards the Baron here from LGD, but there's a Cloud Drake coming up in 15 seconds, and it would be Soul. Top Esports if they're able to get it. Equalizer is on cooldown. This could be an opportunity here for LGD.
Yeah, Zhou was also sent packing, so you don't have the control here as a 5-man unit for Top Esports to hold on to this base. Knight now, you can see trying to see if he can hover around to the side, get in towards a flank position as Top Esports start to set out a pincer movement.
Yeah, you look at the way they're positioned on all sides of the fight. LGD grouped up, but that choke point is the perfect spot for an equalizer. If Karsa finds the opportunity here, they're all grouped up. They've managed to find a kill onto the support, though. Down went Drow. Karsa flashes over the wall, and now Knight buying time in the backside. Look at the damage he's doing. Mark goes down. Jingtian on the front, trying to tank up the damage, and he'll flash out with his own life. Karsa barely gets out. As JackeyLove here, half HP. They're all kind of stuck out in no man's land, but so is the enemy top lane of Fearless falls. As Jingtian now trying to re-engage. He's low on HP himself. The Gromp will be taken down for a bit of sustain. JackeyLove getting the healing. Has a red buff for health regen as well. Knight still in the play. Karsa headed back to base and now is returning to the fray once more, but the Drake should go down. That's Shadow taking that one. And Top Esports desperate to punish here. Knight is going to be able to go for the flank position. He's on to Kramer here. Only Xie here to protect the AD carry. Perfect execution. Flashed away from by Kramer, who's going to be able to get out with his life on the side of this one. Flash away from Knight to dodge away from the zap. Shadow should go down here, and maybe the Baron is on the cards instead.
Yeah, with Shadow gone down, Fearless not up as well. It's now down to the 3-man unit of LGD. Kramer completely out of mana. Xie needs to try and get back in here. You do have a lot of those key spells back up for Xie, though. The Wild Growth, no Redemption, though, and no Shurelya's means they can't even try and contest this. So Top Esports, they lose the Dragon, but they get the Baron.
Yeah, and they'll be more than happy with that. We talked about it earlier. It's only a Cloud Soul, so even if they don't get it, they still have the opportunity later, and it's not actually the end of the world that LGD get a Cloud Drake. Top Esports will be over the moon with that trade that they've got for themselves. Let's take a deeper look at what happened, because this was a messy fight, Doug.
Yeah, Karsa kind of gets caught out here, and Zhou, I feel like actually going in as a 4-man straight onto the backline of LGD could have saved Karsa better there, but unfortunately goes forward, tries to save Rumble, who's got to flash away, and again, like, Knight goes into the backline, but Top Esports aren't in a position to follow up. Yes, you get Mark, but Kramer is still playing frontline. He's still getting away with a hell of a lot of damage. Now, though, comes the little bit of a dangerous part. So I actually thought here, right as that like fight was kind of teetering off, we might get the Super Mega Death Rocket to finish off low members, but Kramer holds on to it for a long time, and then we get the re-engage from LGD, or from Top Esports, because once Xie doesn't have that wall growth, Kramer becomes so much more vulnerable to people like Knight, to people like Jingtian. So once that's away, they can then look again. So you can see these longer drawn out fights, they favor LGD.
Gwen is looking like she's getting into the game here. A lot of damage, a lot of sustain coming through. The stopwatch comes out from Jintian, but surely goes down, and Fearness finds himself the solo kill, the 1v1 turned around.
And he got the 450 shutdown that was on to Qingtian as well. So 750 gold for that kill. That's going to give so much more over towards Fearness as well. And now he's a major threat in these fights. The Morellonomicon completed. Still looking on Cosmic Drive. But Kramer...
Draw with a huge engage. They pull Mark back into the fray. True Shot Barrage, Equalizer, everything used. But they just can't quite finish these targets off. And this composition from LGD is so good at just holding on in these situations. And now on to Jackie Love, who, guess what? He's overstepped once again. Will be able to get out with his life, though. And LGD not able to chase him down. It feels like Jackie Love just lives his entire life on the edge of a knife.
Shadow, gonna run into Knight here. We'll be spotting the bush, and maybe we get the LGD collapse.
Shadow's gonna start this fight off. Definitely can't win the 1v1, but Knight has to be cautious if he's willing to contest. Okay, never mind. He doesn't have to be cautious at all. Turns out it's Knight on a Carly, and he's happy to go 1v3 on this one. His Shroud has run out, though. Uses the Zhonya's, surely will go down here. The rocket comes through as Kramer is feeling a little bit greedy for himself, but won't be able to steal the kill away. Caster in the bottom side. Even though Knight dies here, it should be traded for a minimum of tier 2. They could look a little bit more. There's some pings going out. Jintian wants an opportunity in the mid lane. Kramer drops the Flame Chompers, though. Jackie Love ease aggressively, as usual, and looks for a little bit more. The blue trinket comes out, but I don't think they'll be able to follow this one up.
Yeah, I like the idea from Jackie Love there. Like, Cerulda's Glurge completed means that he's slowing them, giving the opportunity for top esports to get into position, but unfortunately not quite able to set that up with the Flame Chompers coming down from Kramer. Now though, right, you can see Shadow is trying to play off in these side lanes. He's the one that's on kind of split the wave control duty, but it does mean that, like, for Knight, he can instantly burst them. He's got like 12% Omnivamp now coming off of the Mythic passive, plus the 8% that you already get from the item itself of the Riftmaker, so he's massively strong. So in a 1v1 scenario, you just are straight up weaker, almost across the board here for LGD, apart from Fearness. Whereas, if you end up in a situation for LGD that you're grouped up and you're playing through Kramer, he's got that safety, you're all fine. So now, with this next Dragon in 30 seconds, we again have to see if LGD can keep Kramer safe. No flash for this AD carry, though, means that now Xie needs to be positioned more carefully. Mark needs to be on form as well, because Kramer doesn't quite have as much safety as he might want.
And you've got to return to the conversation of scaling here. LGD, they're massively behind in gold, 9,000 down, but they have 4 items on the Jinx, and they have a whole composition built around keeping Kramer safe, letting Kramer be the hyper carry. They're pushing down the mid lane, tier 2 already taken. Kramer takes these towers damn quickly, but an equalizer from Karsa denies anything more. That's a spell shield gone as well, taken by the Call of Meek. Jintian wants to make his way in. Jackie Love playing with fire, moving in very close to the fray as well. They're all lined up and they're all getting burned down. LGD are falling apart on this one, and Kramer's still alive, but he's the only man alive off the back of this one, and Knight will not let him escape.
They just funneled themselves into a corner. Trying to push that far meant that they didn't have an escape route because Top Esports had already come in behind them. And perfect pincer coming in from Top Esports, and it means that there's just nothing left for LGD. And now with the TPs, Top Esports, they can close this out.
They might just be able to. Still 30 seconds on the death time as Jintian and Knight both here, moving onto the towers. And I think this should just be enough time. There's only 2 of them, so it'll be slow going, but there's long death time. So they'll still get away with it on this one. Down to Jackie Loves arrives, and that is going to be that. 12,000 gold lead as they close this one out. Top Esports looking on form today.